Today we're going to scrape file links from a URL. So what that's going to mean is that we're going to go through HTML code, we're going to find links, and then we're going to grab those links and whatever their destination happens to be and download the file at the end of those URLs. So in this particular example, we've got a script that looks for PDFs, Word docs, or XLS file formats as the link destination. So when we go to a page and we see links, we can hover over them. If it's a link to another page, it'll ignore it. If it's a link to another website, it'll ignore it. But if there's a link to a PDF, it will find that file, or a doc file, of course, a XLS spreadsheet. It will find those files, use curl, download them, and put them in a directory of your choice. So what we're going to do is going to go through here on dangibson.me. This is my local, obviously, so you can see this on my website. But what we're going to do is go through this script as explained, and do it step by step, and I'll show you how it works. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a file called scraper. And then we're going to declare it as a bash file. And we're going to put clear underneath, because every time I create a new file, I like to clear my terminal so I can see what I'm doing, because I'm getting senile, I guess, in my older age. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the user to define the URL. So in this case, we're going to use the Department of Labor. They have a forms page here, which has a ton of PDFs. One thing that, as you see, I can hover over here. You can see all the PDFs, that are listed here. One thing that the government loves to do is they like to create PDFs and then post them on their website. And typically, because there's a lot of folks that are still, government employees that aren't big on websites, but they know how to make PDFs, because those have been around forever, and they just hand them off to the website people, who then post them on the website. But if you've ever had to go through and migrate all this data from one site to another, it could be a long task if you right-click, download, right-click, download, and so on and so forth. So what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to scrape all of these PDFs off of this page. And again, as you can see, there's a ton of them. And we'll download them all in one spot. All right. So going back to our script here, we're going to ask for the URL. So we're going to do, let's see, read EP. This will read the directory, and it will also make the input inline. That's what the E and the P stands for. So we're going to do URL to scrape, and then we will make the variable URL. I like to put a semicolon at the end of my bash, just because I'm a PHPer, and doesn't hurt, and it's my habit. We all have habits, right? Next line, we're going to look for the this is going to be the directory where we're going to put the scraped file. So this can either be absolute or relative, as explained here. So what we'll do is we'll do E and P, and then we'll go path to store files. I'm not going to put the rest of it in there, because you can put whatever you want in there. Actually, we do that, and then we'll create a path path variable. And then the last thing is we're going to create this filter here. So what this will do is that if there's, like on the Department of Labor, if you hover over, you can see that this particular hover that I'm doing in the lower left-hand corner, look right here when I hover, you'll see the domain is www.dol.gov. So in this scenario, all I want to do is grab the www.dol.gov links, PDF, doc, and XLS files. and I want to keep them only on that domain. I don't want to get PDFs or whatever from other websites. I just want this website. You can update this script to do what you want, but in this demonstration, I'm going to show you how to just filter off this particular domain. So we're going to do a read E and P, and we're going to only scrape from what domain, and then we're going to set the domain variable. Get rid of the extra colon there, it wasn't supposed to be there. Alright, so now we're looking good. Let's go down to the curl command. So the curl command here, we're going to set as a variable. So we're going to run curl, but everything that runs with curl is going to get stuck to this variable. And this variable is just an easy C. So let's do, whoops, get my keys working. Let's do curl -x get. So we're going to run the get command for curl. So it grabs the URL. Let's say curly brackets, and then we'll use our URL variable from the first read line. And then let's make it silent so that we don't have to see all the spit out, that the command runs. It just makes the screen busy. I don't really care to see it, don't need to. You can remove silent if you actually want to have more veracity. So we're also going to do a grep, and this grep is going to be the meat and potatoes that grabs all of the absolute URLs within the HTML. Okay, so if I come in here and I look at, let's make sure, yep, this is a DOL URL, and if I look at the code, let's see, you see the whoopsie, come on. Alright, so this right here is the full URL that the link is going to, obviously. And you can see it's a full absolute URL. It's not just /sites like Drupal does, for example. If this is Drupal or not, but it's not /sites, file name, blah, blah, blah. It's the full URL. So it's going to look for anything that starts with HTTPS and HTTP. That's what this grep here does. Alright, so rather than trying to type all that and get typos, I'm just going to copy that and paste it, make it nice and easy. There you go. Alright, so now we have our curl command there. What that's going to do is, now we have that, as I mentioned, it's going to create a variable called C. And the next thing I need to do excuse me, is I need to put everything that's in the C variable, and I'm going to put everything into an array. This array is called entity_arr. And what it's going to do is every line or every link that is captured, HTTP domain /file.pdf, it's going to, each one of those is going to be put in entity_array. All right. So the next item down here is we're going to create a loop, so we can go through entity_array, and then we can disseminate what we do with each of those. So this particular, just for the sake of time, I'm going to copy my for loop here, and then I'm going to paste it here down here in my terminal. And what this does is, for each I variable is what we're going to call for this for loop, in entity_array, and the bracket and the @ sign there is, it just interprets every element in the array. So for every element in the array, entity_arr, it's going to look at the domain. The domain filter is up here. You remember we asked for the only scrape on a specific domain, right? So what's going to happen here is it's going to, whatever domain the user puts in, it's going to filter out here for every single entity. or element in the array rather. And then once it filters that guy out, it's going to then look at to see if the URL for the path to the file contains a .pdf, a .doc, or .xls. You can change this. All these are ORs, so PDF or doc or XLS. If it satisfies any of those, then it goes on to the next and satisfies and says, all right, echo, the I variable, which is the path, so that the user can see what's happening, as far as the file that's being downloaded. And then it actually takes the next line down, it takes the file, which is the I variable, and then it puts it in the path that we designate here. This is the path name, right? So, and then I, do null output, so we don't have to see all the wget verbosity, and you can remove that if you want to see all that too. All right. So now what we have is we're done with the for loop. The only thing that's left to do at this point, is to just echo done. Right here is our seventh step. And that just lets the user know that the script is finished. Now this script doesn't have any, try, fail, or anything like that. It doesn't say, all right, if the URL that the user puts in is bad, do something, echo something, whatever. This is just a straight up script that goes through and assumes that the information that you're putting in is correct. If you need validation, you need to add validation on your own. This will just get you started. So now that we have everything here and it's complete, we'll just go ahead and save. And there we can see we have our scraper script. So what we need to do now before we do anything else is change the permissions on it so we can execute it. So let's do chmod +x scraper.sh. So now we can just do /scraper, hit my tab button, and what this should do is run the script, and it's going to ask us now which URL do we want to scrape. Let's scrape this URL. Just copy that guy and just paste it right here. Hit enter. And where are we going to put these files? Now, like I said, this is absolute and or rather relative. So what we're going to do is just going to put them in a new directory called forums, right? And if it doesn't exist, the script will, obviously write the directory or path wherever you want to put it. If it doesn't exist, as long as the current user has access to write in a particular location. All right, so we only want to scrape from www.dol.gov, which, as you remember, if I hover over these guys, that's what the main domain is on each one of these links here. So I'm going to hit enter. Now what it's doing is you can see every file it's listing here is a file that is on that particular page, and it's going through and it's downloading each of them. It's going through the wget, it's grabbing the file, it's downloading it locally, and it's putting it into a forms directory. And it's going to go through each one of these guys. And when it's done, which will take a little bit of time, because there are, as we discussed before, there are quite a lot of files here. So it's got to go through each one of these. It's going to check each one of them to see, all right, is the domain www.dol.gov, and is it a PDF, a Word doc, or an Excel spreadsheet? If it passes those simple validations, it's going to download, as you can see what it's doing in my terminal window right now. But there's quite a lot of them. It seems like a lot, but you know what? It's a lot better than right-clicking and all that kind of stuff. So it's not looking at the page we visually see. It's looking at the HTML, because the curl is going to go grab the HTML from this particular page, which in this case is just all this stuff here. Now, this particular link right here, it's not going to get captured because it's not an A link. It's just a header link, right? So now we can see we're done here at the bottom, right? It's finished. It's telling us that they've gone through and it's done what it's supposed to do. Now let's check to verify that the files have downloaded like they're supposed to. So there's our forums directory. Let's see what's in forums. Oops. As you can see, there are a ton of files that are there. Now, what is the .1, the .2, .3, whatever? If you don't know, that's just the way wget creates a copy. So if in this particular case, let's look at wh75en.pdf. Well, it already existed, so it just created a .1, and it already existed again, so it did a .2. And the reason why this happens is because the PDFs are linked multiple times. The same file is linked multiple times on the same page. So, for example, this might be listed as one PDF, and then down in a different section they have it again. So all you'll need to do at this point is, amend the script so it does not copy duplicates, and that's easily done. And then that way you can only have the .pdf, not .pdf.1, .2, .3, whatever. Or you can just go through and just do a quick find and delete, using your command line. But that's it. Hope this makes your life a little bit easier. Hope you found this helpful, and we'll see you next time in the next video.
Thank you for watching.